I'd like to start this video with a reenactment of me during the September State of Play. Look, Sony, I don't know what you want from me anymore. I make a video sympathizing with your fans, I make a video poking fun at Xbox fanboys for once, and then you turn around and go for the disappointing 2023 showcase hat trick. Genuinely, what is the plan here? Like, assuming there even is one, because this is the second State of Play in a row that genuinely didn't feel like it had a purpose other than just being a Trojan horse for Spider-Man 2. So I think we've firmly established that 2023 has been a rough year for PlayStation fans, assuming you expected Sony to be keeping the momentum that they had the last few years in regard to first-party output and general reasons to go out and buy their big ugly overpriced plastic box instead of Microsoft's big ugly slightly less overpriced plastic box. But then they proceeded to throw nonsense like Forspoken and 30 FPS quality mode caps at you over and over and over again, and it really doesn't seem like there's any end to it now. After the first two PlayStation streams of this year went about as well as a Fiat and a drag race, you would think that Sony would want to bring their A game when it comes time for a third one, but no, fuck you for thinking the console market leader would have some ambition in life. For the last month and a half, we've been hearing from the insiders, the gaming insiders, that PlayStation was going to have another showcase before the launch of Spider-Man 2, and that it would totally make up for the lackluster first-party output and pointless hardware gimmick announcements like the not PSP and those special PlayStation-branded earbuds that I bet you already forgot existed. And I get the feeling that Sony was also a little too aware of how disappointing they've been this year, because leading up to the State of Play, they wasted no time in telling us to manage our fucking expectations. And no, there's nothing wrong with having a showcase dedicated to third-party games and previously announced projects, but that's the kind of thing you do when you're going for a joyride. It's not really the move when you're a Fiat in a drag race. Morale in the PlayStation base has been really low recently, and I really can't blame you guys for it, because I'll say it again for the 10th time on this channel, what do you have to look forward to at this point, other than Spider-Man? This showcase did a lot to hype up the next chapter of the Final Fantasy VII remake, but I think it's safe to say that game is basically the epitome of the phrase not for everyone, and it's not a first-party game anyway, so it's kind of irrelevant to the larger point I'm making. First-party PlayStation output has really been struggling, and then after Spider-Man 2, it seems like Sony doesn't want to make any of their plans public, which is really strange and doesn't exactly bode well given how confident Sony usually is with their first-party output. After such a disappointing year, this should have been the time to whip out a new Wolverine trailer, or an update on Last of Us Factions, or some kind of teaser for what Santa Monica Studios, or Sucker Punch, or Guerrilla, or Bend are up to right now. But apparently Sony disagrees because they prefer to just spend this showcase rapid-firing trailers for games that are multi-platform and really don't do anything to reassure PS5 owners that the money they spent on that shiny new console wouldn't have been better spent on a PC, or groceries, or a Seinfeld box set. So the show kicked off with Baby Steps, which just looked like Death Stranding as written by Seth Rogen to me. I'm so tired of this style of comedy. Like the style of comedy that's like, oh, we're gonna point out this thing with swear words and just do that over and over and over again. And it's funny because it's edgy and not what you expected. But just in case you didn't realize this, it's not funny because it's unexpected. You wouldn't expect me to drive a car through the wall of your house. That doesn't mean you would think it was funny if I did. But really, the only big announcements, the only hype-generating things that were here were Resident Evil 4 DLC, which I know people are excited for this, but I can't be the only one that's a little weirded out when we start selling DLC for a remake. Can we just not do that, please? I also welcome our Capcom overlords at this point. Capcom is really the only AAA publisher I wholeheartedly trust at this point to keep putting out quality games, but fucking Christ, I hope they don't get too complacent. And I know this showcase was for games that we already knew existed, and that I'm not taking issue with the fact that they did a showcase around games we already knew existed, but I am taking issue with the fact that after this year, this was so not the showcase that you needed to have. And maybe I'm just jaded, maybe I'm jaded towards this, maybe I'm hypercritical of Sony. But I'm not seeing the big appeal of Sony this year. All I see is Sony really losing grip of what made them the market leader to begin with. I see Sony getting complacent. They sat on their hands all year, and then the big news, like the big headlines for Sony all year have been negative. It's been the announcement of the not PSP. It's been the announcement of the PS Plus price hike. It's been the lack of first-party game announcements. It's been the confirmation that first-party games that you were excited for are actually being pushed back more because they have no clue what they're doing with them. I mean, fuck, it was just recently leaked that Horizon Forbidden West is coming to PC. Why didn't you just throw that trailer in here? You know, but fuck me for thinking Sony's going to actually market their PC games like they want to sell copies of them. This is the same company that hosted a State of Play, did not mention the Ratchet & Clank PC port, and then like 24 hours later announced the Ratchet & Clank PC port. Like, this company is so confusing. I posted a poll that got almost 700 responses, and only 6% of the people polled had a positive outlook on that showcase. 6%. Those top 2 responses, 6% of people were feeling good about the showcase. And a whopping 64% thought it was disappointing. And like, yeah, I know that, and you could say that like, oh, that's my audience. That's the Joe from Seattle audience, so it's gonna be biased. But like, it's never been like this. But just to compare that, I did a similar poll after the last showcase, the one right before Summer Games Fest that everyone hated, and that got a better response than this last one. That one was at least 12% positive. How do you keep doing this? And I know I'm not going insane because the official State of Play stream on PlayStation's channel, so you're not gonna get more generous towards PlayStation than PlayStation's YouTube channel. Look at this like to dislike. That's not what you want to see. That's not what you want here. And I mean, if you go look at the restreams, like if you go look at the places that aren't going to be so generous and they aren't going to be so forgiving, like GameSpot's restream of the presentation is at 50-50. IGN's stream is also at almost 50-50. So I don't want to hear people coming in and being like, oh, Joe's just a Sony hater. Well, apparently half the internet wasn't liking this thing either. And I don't even own a PlayStation. I just want Sony to stop being such dicks. I just want them to stop sitting on their hands and doing nothing. But apparently that's just too much to ask for. Ugh, like, I'll give you this. Spider-Man looks sick. I'm very excited for Spider-Man to come to PC after the big PlayStation beta test. But I don't understand what's going on here. When I made this video, however long ago that was, I was really under the impression that it would at least get kind of better, you know? I was at least under the impression that Sony's next showcase would step it up. That Sony's next showcase would be where they would show off all the stuff that they were holding on to, you know? Because Sony surely has a lot of first-party content in the works right now, and they've, for one reason or another, not wanted to show it to us. And I thought for sure they would not go 3 in a row. I thought for sure they would not go 3 big showcases in a row, 3 big live streams in a row, without giving the PlayStation base a little bit of confidence for the first-party future. And fuck me for trying, I guess. Just port Bloodborne to PC, and you'll never hear from me again, Sony. That's my deal. That's my deal to you. Port Bloodborne to PC, you'll never hear from me again. Alright, toodles.